All right. Howdy, friends. I am filming today in the house where you can see my ginormous pile of sewing that I need to get uh, to talk about composting, which I would love to rather be talking about that outside with the compost, but our neighbor's dogs are out and I am tired of doing multiple takes to say hello. So without, very sweet, lovely puppers barking ferociously in the background. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about composting. And there are so many wonderful ways to compost that I really feel like there is something for everyone in terms of like what compost is best for you. There's going to be something, whether you live in an apartment or on a farm, like there's going to be something fantastic for you to be able to compost, reduce your food waste, reduce waste, and like make some of your own fertilizer and soil for whether it's for your house plants in a city or if it's for your food garden. And it's just a wonderful way to, I don't know, homestead or mini farm at any level. So today I'm specifically going to talk about hot composting. I wonder if I'm going to edit out these things. I will try to add some really beautiful outdoor footage to go with this, so it's not just my face. But hot composting. So, what is hot composting? And is it the right method for you specifically? Because you're going to see a lot of people out there talking about how awesome it is, and it is. But first, let's talk about what specifically is hot composting. And hot composting is anytime you are going to use methods that will raise the temperature of your pile of compost to be around 130 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit consistently for a period of, like on average, 10 days. Some people do it only for 5. A lot of folks will recommend you go all the way up to 15 days. And the purpose of this is that heat will really kill off pretty much all the pathogens that could be in your pile. It will kill off any weed seeds, and it will it'll break down that compost so fast that, like, I don't know, just do a quick YouTube search of all the people who are like the fastest compost ever. And like, it is fast. It can be. So like, that's what it is. And the clear advantages are the speed of processing, the fact that you can put a lot more into it and know that the heat is going to take care of things like pathogens and weeds, so you can put more in your pile. But is it the right style of composting for you? And so to know if it's good for you, you really need to know what the requirements are for hot composting, because they are specific. I will say, of all the composting methods, this is the one where you really have to work until you know what you're doing. I'm not saying you can't do it if you know what you're doing, but to get it to work well, there are a lot of factors at play, and you're going to have to put a lot of physical and mental work into it initially, and then that work continues. So first off, in order to have a pile that can build up enough heat to get to those temperatures, it has to be large. Like, I'll put on the screen a picture of my current compost pile that is roughly 3 feet wide, 3 feet tall. Like, it's a 3 foot around. It's not a square, so it's 3 feet across. And that is really the bare minimum size for you to have a successful hot pile. I know there are some folks who will put their piles in wooden slat bins where there's some air between the piles are all right next to each other, stacked up. So they kind of have that benefit of that added thermic mass. And so the individual piles might be smaller, but it's still a large amount of space. So if you're in an apartment or a city, or you have a very small yard and you're trying to make the most of it, well, it might not be right for you. Or if you have a small yard and you're trying to make the most of it, maybe that's exactly what you want to do with that space, which is totally awesome. And if you have a bigger yard, then it can be fantastic. So that's your first requirement. You need to have enough space. Then you need to have the proper amount of air circulation. And what I often hear people most talk about for this to get that air circulation is physically turning the pile. This is very labor intensive. If you have any back problems at all, I would not recommend it. I cannot tell you how many times I've thrown on my back. So, because I have bad form, it's my own fault. But so yeah, that is the most common thing that you'll hear people talk about, or at least the most common thing I have heard people say, like, oh, you have to turn it every day for 15 days. And that is certainly one method. Other ways you can aerate your pile is one, if you are planning on having it be heated over the summer, you can build it up with a wire cage so the outside gets plenty of air. And then I'll see other folks put a tube, like a PVC pipe tube with holes drilled in it in the middle. And like I've seen folks have good success with that. Obviously, the pile might not get the air fully distributed. You might get some pieces that don't get fully broken down, but it's still a much less work-intensive way that generally works really well. Cheers. And then finally, one way that is less individually physically intensive, but is still an intensive method that we're seeing a lot more people do now on the bigger farms, or like the farms, they'd be a small farm commercially, like a small family farm, but like folks who are making a lot of their own compost and even selling it, they put these leaky pipes, PVC pipes with holes in them, and then build the pile over that, and then take one of those industrial fans that you'll see when like people need to do flood damage control in their house and get all the moisture out. They'll plug up one of those massive fans to it and force air through the pile. And those are so cool. Like they get really fast results. They aerate the pile. They have less loss of nitrogen because they're not turning the pile. And like it's an intensive setup because you have to have those resources, and they're usually using like skid steers, or like they're using farm machinery to build that pile because it's on such a big scale. But in terms of the individual person's physical labor, it's easier because you have the machines to do it with you. So that's a really cool thing. I don't think that's going to work for most of us though, because at least if you're watching my channel, you're probably either on a small plot of land, maybe in city limits, or yeah, it's just more of a urban to suburban setting. So there you go. That's the next criteria, is how are you going to circulate it? What of those methods works for you? And if none of those methods work for you, pick a different method to do your compost. Okay, big enough pile, air circulation. The third criteria is correct moisture levels. So you need to be able to make sure it stays moist but not wet. That's one of those things where you'll have to figure it out with time and experience, hang out with other people in their piles, or just learn on your own. It's fun, I think. So if you live in an extreme desert and you have, maybe you're not allowed to use certain amounts of water, or maybe you're on well water, like if you're not able to water your pile, not a great method. Alternately, if you live in a super duper wet area and you're not able to protect the pile from rain and keep it from getting waterlogged, like if that's going to be too much of a challenge, then again, let's try a different method. But if moisture is not a problem, cool, that's your third criteria. And then next up, you need the right mix. So you need access to the right materials to make your pile, the right ratios of carbon and nitrogen. And especially if your pile is on the smaller side, you might have a harder time getting enough nitrogen sources while containing the pile and avoiding upsetting your neighbors with the stench or attracting animals. For us, like this year is my first year having a truly hot compost pile, and I honestly wasn't trying to do it anymore. I gave up on it so long ago because for me and my needs, there are much easier ways. And I have the stability in my life to be patient with my pile. I don't have to have it in 3 months. You know, I know we're like the moisture levels, that is going to be something that you can look it up and look up all of the like exact measurements, but it's not actually that exact. So you're going to because nature is messy. So you're going to have to feel that one out and be willing to put the time in to figure that out. I wasn't, and somehow I have a hot pile now, but don't rely on that. Like, don't rely on giving up and it being okay. And then finally, so one last note. A lot of the times the material that you need to make the pile truly active and to get hot is manure of some type. And so then it really is important to follow through on your pile and make sure that you take good care of it and you don't accidentally put raw compost or unfinished compost anywhere where it's going to contaminate your living space, your garden, places where maybe kids walk barefoot, or fresh on produce too soon to when you're going to harvest it. So be careful with that. And then finally, you should get a compost thermometer. It's not really any different than like a meat thermometer, but it does a different range of temperatures and it has it's much longer, so it can get to that center of the pile. And that will help take away some of the guesswork of your pile. Some folks say you don't need it because you can just put your hand in and it's hot. No, you need to make sure it's actually getting to the right temperature range. And do that without disturbing the pile and ruining your progress. So they're cheap. For considering everything right now, it's one of the cheaper things you can get that if you want to do hot composting, that is the one piece of equipment that I would say you want to have because it will make you more successful. So that is all I have. That's the end of my notes. In conclusion, hot compost piles are super awesome if you want to be able to compost weed seeds and pathogens and get those things taken care of, and you want your compost made fast. But it is work intensive and resource intensive, so it's not going to be for everyone. It's fantastic if it works for you. And if you're interested in learning about other methods for composting, I love composting. So I will be putting out some more videos, including videos on the different methods that I use for our homestead. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.